Again, welcome to Lower Lake Community Action Group's clubhouse here in Lower Lake. Hopefully we can get some of you for members after the night is over. We're always recruiting. Hey, right, my name again is Russ Kramer. I'm the Lower Lake Community Action Group president. We have our board members kind of scattered through the room that put together, Teresa over here put together our snacks, and as I said, it looks like some of you have taken advantage of that. Feel free to get up and get them whenever you'd like. At this point, this is the 2050 General Plan and Local Area Plan meeting. And I'm going to turn this over to Maria Turner, who will be running the meeting and will be introducing our experts. So, Maria, here you go.
Thank you. Good evening. Mireya Turner, Director of Community Development. This is so cool. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. So far, this is our way best showing, and I'm not surprised, because I know Lower Lake shows up. It's our pleasure. So I want to extend thanks to the Lower Lake Community Action Group for hosting our meeting this evening. And also thanks to our AmeriCorps team over here on the right-hand side. They are helping to facilitate the tables and gather your input. Oh, also thanks to Chair Sabatier for helping out and Supervisor Simon for attending and listening in on all the great input we're going to get tonight. We are really looking forward to hearing what you love about Lower Lake and what you want to see changed in Lower Lake as we work on this community visioning process for the next 20 years. We're not going to work on it for 20 years. It's about a 20-year plan. So, unfortunately, we were not able to have our Zoom, our hybrid meeting. We're encountering something that I think you will find a common theme in the county, which is a lack of internet access to the level that we really need nowadays, especially with the increased dependence and convenience of hybrid meetings and being able to attend remotely. However, we are recording tonight's meeting, and so if somebody missed it, there's somebody that you know couldn't be here tonight but wants to get caught up and wants to sort of see what the community is talking about, we will post this video on the LakeCounty2050.org website. So that's Lake County 2050. That's the name of our project of updating both the general plan and all 8 area plans. So I encourage you to go to that website. You can fill out any comments that you're going to think of when you get home that you should have said here. Go right there and feel free to just make sure we hear everything that you want to convey. Additionally, you may have seen a one-page front and back survey that is also an attempt to gather input and your thoughts. Please fill that out if you picked one up tonight. If not, we've got one over there. And Karen, would you mind holding up the swag here? This is a license plate holder that is yours for the taking after completing that survey. It's just another way that we have for getting the word out for this county-wide project. We're going to have a brief overview of the general plan and the local area plans, what their purpose is, and why it's so awesome that you guys are all here tonight. And Tanya from PlaceWorks will be leading that. We're then going to have a question and answer period for any questions that you may have of the presentation. And then we get to the really important stuff, which is the breaking up into small groups. You should see on your agenda at the bottom is a series of 4 different questions that we're going to want to hear your input on. We're going to also have our AmeriCorps people and other staff working as the scribes to make sure we're capturing what you're telling us. And then as we come back together in a large group after that, each table will pick a person that is not a staff person to sort of report out of what happened in your group. I heard a really awesome idea that some tables are already planning to go outside to the picnic tables during small group time. I think that would be great, not only because it's nice out there, but also I think that it might be hard to hear if we have everyone in here talking. So feel free to pick up the stuff, and when we break for small groups, head out to that picnic table, and we'll do our very best to keep everybody on time. I'll turn it over to Tanya now.
Thank you, Mireya. We can advance to slide number 4. So my name is Tanya Sundberg. I am with PlaceWorks. We are the lead consultant for the county for this project. Really excited to see so many faces here tonight. Really appreciate everyone's time. I know you all are busy, and really appreciate you giving us your time tonight. So I just want to take a little bit of time to orient you to this project so you know what it is we're talking about, why it's important, and what we're going to be doing in these small group exercises. So to start, this is a project that we're calling Lake County 2050. This is a comprehensive update to the county's general plan, including all 8 of the local area plans, and that includes the Lower Lake local area plan. This project also includes environmental review, which is a required step under California law for us to do as part of this update, and I'll talk about that. And then we also have concurrent preparation of a document called a climate adaptation plan. That's a county-wide plan that will set up a framework for the county to be able to adapt to the effects of climate change. Next slide, please. So first, what is a general plan? A general plan is a long-range plan. For this plan, we're looking out to the year 2050. This is a plan that will guide the county's decisions on a pretty broad variety of topics, and those are limited to the decisions that affect the unincorporated county. So we're really focused on unincorporated parts of Lake County. The general plan is often referred to as the constitution for development and conservation in a jurisdiction, and it's called a constitution because it sets this really broad overarching framework for the much more detailed regulations and guidelines and other plans that affect how development can happen. Next slide, please. So state law requires that the general plan address 8 topics. You can see them here listed on the left. But jurisdictions aren't limited to just those 8 topics. You can address other topics just based on the local needs in your community. So your current Lake County General Plan addresses 7 of these 8 topics now. The last topic, environmental justice, is actually a new topic required by state law, so it's not in your current general plan. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But your current plan addresses all those other topics as well as these optional topics shown on the right. I do want to point out the housing element. It's a part of your general plan, but state law requires that it be updated on a more frequent basis than the rest of the general plan, so that will happen separately. It's not part of this update. And similarly, the aggregate resources management plan, that's an appendix to your current general plan. That is also going to be updated separately, not part of this effort. Next slide, please. Okay, so moving on to local area plans. Local area plans are also long-range plans, but they provide policy guidance for a localized area so that it can really respond to the specific needs and conditions in that local area. And so you currently have the Lower Lake local area plan, and that document carries equal weight as the county-wide elements. But again, it's really limited, its applicability is limited to the Lower Lake area. And you have a map showing all of the local area plan boundaries at each of your tables. And so it provides kind of more detailed, more fine-grained guidance for the local area. Next slide, please. So as part of this update, we are planning to reorganize your general plan to streamline the contents and also avoid redundancies. So we are looking at the different topics and thinking about where they belong as a local area plan topic versus a county-wide element. So a lot of these topics that we're going to cover in the general plan are best addressed at a localized scale, and so those will be in the Lower Lake local area plan. That includes land use, circulation, open space conservation and recreation, environmental justice, public facilities and services, and economic development. Also, there's a provision in the local area plans where you can identify special study areas, which are more at the community level, and provide even more detailed policy and design guidance for those special study areas. Your current plan doesn't have that, but that's something that we're going to look at potentially adding as part of this update. The other topics, those remaining topics, will be covered as county-wide elements. Those are shown here on the left. Next slide, please. So land use is a topic I want to highlight. It typically receives a lot of attention in a general plan update, and that's because of this map. You have this map on your tables, and you can see a snippet of the map on your screen. This is the land use map. This identifies what type of land use can be developed on every parcel in the unincorporated county, and then also establishes some basic parameters for how intensely or densely that development can happen. So it really has a big influence on how your community looks and feels and grows. And that also sets up the framework for the zoning map and the zoning code, which many of you may be more familiar with when you do any activities with the county government planning. Next slide, please. Okay, so I want to take a little bit of time on this topic of environmental justice because it's a new topic. This was a new requirement under state law as of 2016. So again, it's not in your current general plan. So first, just to define what we mean when we say environmental justice, state law does define it. You can see that definition here on the slide. A lot of people have different ideas about how to define it. I like to think of it as simply the basic right of everybody to have the ability to live and work and play, worship, go to school in a healthy and clean environment. And what this law recognizes is that some communities, particularly low-income communities, communities of color, tribal communities, have faced a combination of factors over time that have created conditions where they're facing higher pollution burdens, higher health issues and impacts, social and economic vulnerabilities like poverty and housing instability. And so those communities under state law are termed disadvantaged communities, and you're required in your environmental justice element to specifically include policy guidance to improve conditions in those disadvantaged communities. Next slide, please. So again, to comply with this new legislation, for any disadvantaged communities that are identified in Lake County, we need to establish policy guidance that reduces pollution exposure, promotes access to quality public facilities, access to healthy and affordable food, access to safe and sanitary housing, and access to opportunities for physical activity in these disadvantaged communities. And then there's provisions in the law that really require that we engage the communities that are affected by these decisions in the policy-making process. And so that's an important component of the environmental justice work. And finally, the law requires that agencies prioritize improvements that will specifically address the needs of disadvantaged communities. Next slide, please. Okay, so many of you may not be very familiar with the general plan. You might not interact with it very much in your day-to-day lives, but it has some real implications for how it feels to move around your community and experience life in your community. So I want to highlight a few of those so we can keep in mind why this is important. As I mentioned earlier, the general plan land use map identifies the types of land uses that can be developed and where. So that can affect how you and your neighbors can use your property. It also identifies where job-generating uses or commercial services can be located. So that might affect how easy it is for you to find a job that's close to your house, or how easy it is for you to get to a grocery store or meet your other daily needs. And then the general plan also affects how neighborhoods are developed in the first place, so that affects the look and feel of neighborhoods. Next slide, please. There's policy guidance about how roadways are designed and improved, how parks are located and improved, how we're going to protect ourselves from natural hazards, and how cultural and natural resources are conserved. So these are just a kind of some examples of how it affects your life. There's, again, that broad range of topics, so it's pretty far-reaching. Next slide, please. As I mentioned at the outset, a part of this project is to conduct environmental review. This is required by the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. That law requires the county to disclose the potential physical effects on the environment that could happen from adoption and implementation of this general plan update. So we do that through the preparation of a document called an environmental impact report, or EIR. So that will be part of this process. There are some opportunities for public input, including on the scope of the analysis, as well as commenting on the analysis itself. So there's opportunity for you to be involved in that as well. Next slide, please. So here's an overview of the whole 3-year process to prepare this general plan update. We started last fall, and we are looking to go out through fall of 2026. The countywide elements work is underway. Those are going to be happening at a quicker pace than these local area plan updates. We're expecting full drafts of those countywide elements this fall. This workshop tonight is part of our initiation for the local area plan updates. And what we learn from you today will help us understand what are the key issues for this Lower Lake local area plan update. And then we'll be working on policy options and land use alternatives so that we respond to those issues you bring up today. And we'll be doing that work through this fall. We're expecting to have full drafts of the local area plans by spring of next year. At that point, we'll start that environmental impact report analysis in full with a draft EIR anticipated in spring of 2026. And then we have public review and adoption in fall of 2026. Next slide, please. Coming. So no worries. So yeah, your participation here tonight and throughout this process is really critical to the success of this project. So thank you again for being here, and I hope that you do continue to participate throughout the process. So there are going to be opportunities beyond tonight to participate, of course. This workshop that we're in right now, we're calling a local area plan community workshop. We're doing a whole round of these, one in each local area plan. We're going to do a whole nother round of these in the fall when we have those policy and land use alternatives identified in response to the things that you bring up today. So that will be our next workshop series. Then we'll have a whole nother workshop series in spring of next year when we have the draft local area plans ready. We'll be presenting it to you. They're not final. We'll be asking for your feedback, and we'll be making revisions based on what we hear. So those are the main ways that we're going to be engaging, but there's a lot of other ways to participate too. As many of you know, the Board of Supervisors just recently established local area plan advisory committees for each local area plan. Applications for that are welcome. There are paper applications here. They're available online as well. Those applications are being accepted through May 31st, so I encourage you to consider and apply for that role. There's also a general plan advisory committee that's been established and has had its first meeting. They're overseeing the overall general plan update rather than focusing in on a local area plan. Those meetings are open to the public and you can participate there. There's also Planning Commission, Board of Supervisor check-ins where your comments are welcome. And then finally, we have a dedicated project website, lakecounty2050.org. I'm getting myself confused on it. lakecounty2050.org. Please check it out if you haven't been there. And fill out our survey. We also have paper copies of the survey as well. Okay, next slide. All right, so that gives you the overview. I do want to just give you a preview too of what's next, and then we'll open it up for questions. So next slide. As Mireya pointed out, we are going to be walking through these 4 questions. They're on your workshop overview handout. We'll be working in small groups. Each group will have a staff person to facilitate the conversation. Make sure we get through all the questions. We've got about 45 minutes devoted to this part of the meeting. And the facilitator will be taking notes on those big pieces of paper. You are also welcome and encouraged to mark up the maps to be able to convey, the points that you want to make tonight. Next slide, please. And then after we finish our small groups, we're going to come back together, as Mireya said, and have reports back. So we will have a representative from each group report back to the larger group. And we do want that to be one of you that's here rather than our staff. So please consider volunteering for that role. It will just be a very brief 1 to 2 minute overview that we'll be asking you for. I think that covers it. And I think we're now ready to take your questions, and we should have another mic ready for that, or should we just bring this mic out to people that have a question? Are you going to break in the group? Not yet. We're going to do Q&A. So if we have questions, just raise your hand and I'll bring you the mic. Okay.
Hi, my name is Jean Yanich, and I am a resident of Twin Lakes Neighbors, or the group. And we have been, for the last 5 years, been swamped with illegal grow dogs attacking our livestock, chemicals ruining our wells. Willie Cepeda has come out because of all the chemicals used. They had to come and eradicate that. So code enforcement has been notified for over and over and over for 4 years. And I've made complaints, and then they do eradication, and then 6 months later, they're back doing their big grows. I'm also a director on Lower Lake Water Board, and our water company is hooking up water to facilitate these illegal grows. If there's no residents, if there's nothing there, they're hooking up water to allow these people to grow. So I guess I'm concerned about the environment, but I'm concerned with why do we not have any kind of enforcement? Like, we have people living in trailers with cargo containers where they're doing their grow and making their fentanyl and doing all this, but we have no enforcement. So that is why I'm here tonight, to facilitate enforcement of the law. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jean. And I just want to point out that that is a great, that's the kind of input we want to hear from tonight. We want to collect that input in our small group discussions. We have a question that asks about issues and challenges. And when we have it in the small group setting, we're going to make sure we get that recorded. So please bring that up again when you have your small group meeting exercise. So I want to try to focus on questions because we are a little behind schedule. So any other questions that we can answer to help clarify the presentation or what it is we're about to do?
It's not specifically about what we're about to do, but I was just looking on the website to see who was on the general plan committee, and I couldn't find it. Now maybe it's there, but I'm curious if there's someone on it from Lower Lake.
I don't think we have posted on the project website the members, but that's something we could add. Yeah, we'll go ahead and add that. Great suggestion, Karen.
So far from tonight, we do have Marty here tonight, and Paul Duncan also is a representative on GPAC.
Thank you. I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to get, one is a clarification, the other is a question. On the notice that I got in my email, it was talking about problems with Upper Lake and Nice.
Yeah,
And we're not discussing that tonight.
we are
yet.
not, and I meant to bring that
Good.
up, and I forgot. Thank you for bringing
Because I
it
was
up.
wondering
It's a
that.
typo.
I'm not really affected by that, and I thought, what are we
This
doing?
is-
I don't really want them over there telling us what to do
No,
over here either.
Of course.
You
This
know?
is what happens when you plan 8 workshops
Okay.
at once. So I
That's good.
apologize.
That-
We are talking about
It makes
just
this
the
meeting
lower
more
lake.
effective.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, if I sign up on the website, which I believe I probably am, maybe that's why I got this. I don't know if this was from the local committee or not, or from your website. But when the EIR comes out, because that's most important to me, would I be notified of that? And when that does happen, that's not going to slip by me.
Yeah, so we do have a mailing list for this project, and if you gave us your email when you signed in, then you're going to be added to that email list. Or if you want to double check on our website, there's a place where you can sign up for the email list. So if you want to, you can make sure you're on it, and if you're on our email list, we will definitely email that email list when the EIR is published.
And then also, are you guys aware of the legislation in Sacramento going on right now about developers and the EIRs, where they're trying to track that away from court systems on when they build the high density, low income housing? That, and even our Attorney General's, I got an email from him. I think he's kind of behind it. And are you guys aware of that? Is that going to affect that legislation, if it passes?
I'll let Mireya respond too, but yeah, we'll let you respond.
I haven't read that legislation yet, but from what I heard, like on NPR, I think it's concentrated in high urban areas, maybe not necessarily rural areas such as ours. However, what we're doing tonight is doing our community visioning. And one of the things that we do in projects, unless state law changes it so that multifamily residential is completely ministerial and doesn't have any discretionary review, we will still go through the process of making sure that that project is consistent both with our general plan and with our area plans. That is actually the whole, this is where your work gets rolled out over the next 20 years, is the area plans that we have and the general plans that we're updating now are tools that the community development department uses when it is evaluating projects. So when things come across applications for businesses, use permits, rezones, things like that, we are checking to make sure that it's consistent with the community vision. That being said, I can't control Sacramento. So, you know.
But if that changes, you'll let us know.
If Sacramento law changes? No,
If
I'm not
that
going to tell
changes
you.
about the EIR, because they're saying it's slowing down the projects. You're right about, it is basically towards the cities, but I know the pressure is on the county to do it too.
So environmental analysis is part of every discretionary permit. Until they make, there's a difference. We have these projects that are like ministerial, like a building permit. And that means you're not going to planning commission or zoning administrator. It's not discretionary. We don't put conditions on it. And then we have discretionary permits, which are your use permits, the cannabis permits, things like that. And those are routed for agency review. We gather conditions for the project. It goes in front of a public hearing. The public is notified according to state law regulations. And so environmental analysis is always part of that process, the discretionary process. So we will not bypass any environmental analysis unless there is an exemption by state law to do so that is not preempted by extenuating circumstances that can actually erase the exemptions. So it's kind of complicated. I know, sorry, I should probably like draw a diagram or something, but no, we're not going to bypass environmental analysis. You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there a question back there?
I have the same thing. Upper
Okay.
Lake East, obviously, in the state.
Great questions here. Thank you. Could we get over there? I don't think this cord will.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, we do need it for recording. I'm sorry.
So for the disadvantaged communities, you gave pretty much a definition of what those are because that's a state regulated thing with the environmental justice. Is there a way to find out where those communities have been identified in the county?
That's a great question. So the state does define disadvantaged communities and it defines environmental justice, but it actually gives a lot of discretion to local agencies to map those communities based on local conditions and understanding of local conditions. So we are working on preliminary drafts of disadvantaged communities, but we do anticipate community input on that. And so that will be part of an upcoming conversation. We don't have those drafts ready yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, great. Okay, so you're all assigned to a table, and we're gonna pause the mics and get oriented with your facilitator. Okay, and just raise your hand if you have any questions about anything, and we'll be roaming.
Biggest thing is at our table was we want traditional ag back and not cannabis. Cannabis does have its place, but it has to be in its place and not in all our backyards. We want our cattle ranches back, we want our orchards back, and that can't happen when it's not regulated correctly, I guess. Another issue is the Highway 5329 intersection. We have the busiest intersection in the county, and it does need to be addressed as such. It is a dangerous intersection. We need controlled growth. We need controlled growth on housing and business. We have the school right here in our backyard, and that's a big issue. The schools are already overcrowded, terribly overcrowded, so we need to have that addressed. And I'm being told Tanya was very, very helpful. A lot of that, the school district is governed by the state, but we can put pressure. Some of the issues will be the loss of landlines with the internet and phone services. I understand AT&T is stepping out of the area. And one of the last main concerns is some design guidance for Lower Lake, similar to Middletown, Upper Lake, Kelseyville. They keep their town as the more traditional historical design, and we can influence that as well. There was some issues.
But we didn't have
Good.
any land use map changes, so you want to go to those boundaries?
Yeah, that's right, that was the boundary one. So there's some concerns on the boundary, looking at the actual map and the determination against the map that's presented. What is the reasoning that the map stops short of public utilities? So, for instance, the mapping for the boundaries will end 6 lots, 12 lots in, but the water, county water, continues to those other lots. What's the reasoning behind it? And so it should align with municipal services. And if not, we want to know why. The LAP boundary and the district boundary are also two different things, so there's more clarification that needs to be with that. And then the northwest corner of the LAP boundary seems to be way off as well, same reasoning. So the Morgan Valley Road area, the top corner, Point Lakeview area, Lower Lake is all the way out past Thornhill Winery. But the map doesn't reflect any of that, so those are just some of the things that we discussed.
Group 2? Who's your?
All right, John Hess will do his best here. We started with L.L.C.A.G assets for Lower Lake, supported, preserved, or enhanced, maintained the quiet nature of the community, the low-key nature of the community, like it used to be, and I think that's reflected in your comments about the feel and look of the community. Main Street, preserve that old town feel. We want clean air. We want respect for the town history. Kudos to the Lower Lake Community Action Group and perhaps their proactive activities as time goes on. This is a long-term plan. Could in fact convert to something like the Middletown Area Town Hall or EARTH or SERTH and have a direct conduit, an official conduit to the Board of Supervisors. And then more active at fire services in terms of locations. If you can see, you're doing a good job of holding. Increased law enforcement. There's the lack of a strong anchor in downtown, lack of development for downtown. Cleanup from the fire is slow and needs to be accelerated and continued. Debris, down trees, dying trees, burnt trees. There's no city council, so who is responsible or should be responsive to the community of Lower Lake? There's no MAC, like I said, there's no something like the math here. And to clarify how to best convey communities' impressions and attitudes to the Board of Supervisors. Illegal grows, as was mentioned at Table 1, all the very same things. It doesn't seem to matter how often code enforcement comes out. As soon as they're gone, the activity comes back. Human waste, chemicals, inappropriate behavior for children to see or smell, invasion of viewscapes, and that is something we all treasure here in Lake County. Infrastructure, the character and quality of our roads, water hookups, etc. Infrastructure for hookups and sewer. Sidewalks are inadequate. More lighting and signage. And then perhaps some kind of monument as you enter town, an arch or a sign welcoming people. And changes. Main Street should be zoned in a way that there can be no cannabis retail or sales. But it should be zoned for controlled and thoughtful and wise growth. Where does Lower Lake go? Not just in terms of directions on the ground, but what are the defining features of the community that we want to see continued and enhanced up until 2050? Where does Lower Lake expand to? There's areas south of the city, south of the stoplight, but also the undeveloped north. And so those areas can be addressed in terms of where the community grows into over the next 25, 30 years. And I don't really know how to explain this to you all. These are zones and locations that have been identified for where growth and new development could go, which is off of Main Street. Pretty consistent with your comments. Yeah.
Great job. Okay, who's going to report?
Okay, I wanted to thank the Board of Supervisors and the supervisor candidates for being here. I thought that was, the representatives are here. I thought, that's class. So, and our fire chief is here and a lot of other important people. So thank you all for coming out. Anyway, we had sort of some kumbaya moments. That we felt like we have an accepting community, that we felt like it's a welcoming place, that we have good spirit in Lake County. We are proud to be from, Lake County, Lower Lake, excuse me. We're proud to be from Lower Lake, and we're proud of our small downtown. We also are proud of our cultural resources. The museum is here in Lower Lake and Anderson Marsh, to name a few. Those are our top, what do we like most? Challenges, one of the, we spent a lot of time talking about infrastructure, and that there has been some pretty major developments in our area recently, and that roads, for example, were not changed, and we felt that that's really important. We're not against the growth, but that we need to make sure that we do careful planning with infrastructure to support that growth. Also, code enforcement. There are some areas that and I think that piggybacks on the cannabis, but also some real fire hazard areas that we've identified that we feel like haven't been addressed. Internet was a real need for our county to attract people maybe working at home from the Bay Area, for example. We think that's a real opportunity for our area, but also at the same time to maintain the rural lifestyle. And we had a pretty frank discussion. We had a captive audience with a supervisor to express that we feel like maybe down at this end of the lake, we don't get as much support from the county services and maybe it's a perception, but I think we have some real examples of that. So we'd like that to happen. I don't know if that relates to the plan, but we had a chance to slip it in there. And then what do we think about changes that need to be made? We talked a lot about the schools and and support, again, from the county in helping with traffic control, roads. Yeah, we had a lot of ideas, and we came up with some specific ones that we've noted here, which you'll have those in the notes, I'm sure. And we also stated that we love a downtown design vision. I think that was Moak's input, but then we thought, oh yes, of course we do. That would be awesome for our downtown. And lastly, we also talked about growth boundaries and having those well defined. We talked a little bit specifically about wouldn't it be cool to have some youth activities like a bowling alley in our end of the town. We've got the biggest high school around, so we thought that would be a really cool thing to have. And we also said roller rink. Yeah, and outdoor areas for the kids.
All right, we went, is this on? I can speak pretty loud or without this. So what we liked most was that we live in a quaint area with a nice atmosphere. It's a small town. We like the people that we know and cherish. We like the small businesses, you know, like La Monarca and our, like I said before, like our Burrita, you know, the feed store, you know, our little town has a feed store right downtown. Our wildflowers, quality of life, being like a small town, being a town, walkability, safety, neighbors, helping neighbors, that's especially true. I have to brag, in Twin Lakes, we all check on each other. We have our own little Facebook, and it is active. The cows are out, the horse is out, whose dog is out, the pugs are out, the goats are out. So, you know, I mean, we're all over the board. We like our hiking trails and our clean air. And history. Oh, sorry, yeah. I was horrible in history. I think it was a mental block. So we went then to supported, preserved, and enhanced. We want to protect our water. We need clean water, our groundwater, our well water. We want to protect that at all costs. There's a lot of stuff going on that is illegal, that is poisoning our well waters. There are some seniors in Twin Lakes that rely on watering their gardens and their fruit and vegetables, and they can't use their own water because it's poisoned. They can't use their own water, which that's a real shame. We want to preserve our safety, our rural atmosphere, small town feeling. We want community input on certain things. There are a lot of things that we would like to continue to have our voices heard. Agriculture variety, not a monoculture. I kind of joked, you know, we don't need Beckstoffer taking all our land. You know, let's have some fruits and vegetables in our orchards, and you know, make it diverse. We want to preserve our tourism. We definitely want to enhance our animal welfare. I'm an animal advocate, and I will go far to make sure that something happens with animal welfare around here. Preserve access to Lower Lake from highway. That also goes to Twin Lakes. We were promised a turnoff lane, and they forgot, or so we were told. Okay, it's coming, still coming, because we've had, okay, good, because people are dying on that turnoff. I'm scared every time I turn left.
It'll be built.
Yeah, good. Yeah, because a lot of us turn right and then, yay! Love it. Okay. We want to enhance our schools, quality education. Youth activities like a Boys and Girls Club would be great, and businesses focused on youth. So that was that. Then on challenges, lack of enforcement, water usage, water rates, well running dry. You know, we all know what we mean by that. Lack of animal control, roads that support development and traffic, including fire safety. I think that's why Bonham, Wagner, dangerous, Morgan Valley Road. There's a big development that's coming in that I didn't even know about. The Getaway Lake County Outpost. It's a glamp ground with 59 campsites. The traffic is going to be outrageous. Getaway Lake County Outpost development. It was approved by county in June of 2023. It seems like nobody knows anything about it. And they're building 59 campsites off Morgan Valley Road by Bonham and Wagner. right?
No, it's
Or-
2 miles.
Oh, 2 miles,
Stuff
yeah.
here.
Okay.
Can I just ask one quick? You're saying campsites, does that mean like people come up on the weekend, or does that mean you can park a motorhome and live there?
Yeah, no, I'm worried about that. Supposedly, it's just for weekenders, right?
It's just, you rent the place and then you leave. There's no, you can't bring in a trailer, no.
They have,
There's small cabins.
they have units like this.
I hope so, because we know what's going to happen if that's not the case.
Kind of similar to Six Sigma.
Yeah.
We're just really concerned about open campfires.
No open campfires allowed.
Okay, moving right along. People living in non-legal structures with no permits. We have that problem in Twin Lakes where people are stealing or hooking up their electricity from other properties and living in campers or trailers, and then they have those, what are they called again? The shipping containers. God knows what goes on in there, but that's a problem. Illegal cannabis grows. I think everybody realizes that. Roads like Lake Street are not safe around the school. Definitely a challenge. Not safe enough for walking and riding bikes. Fire safety needs to be improved. Insurance issues. A lot of people are not getting their fire insurance, and California Fair Plan is not the answer. And challenges squatters in general. Changes. Supervisor that responds to emails, etc. Something about hiding Twin Pines was jokingly said. Intersection at Bonham, more safe. Streamlined permits, more affordable. 60K permits. Rezoned for more housing. So people have like 10 acre plots in like Twin Lakes, and everybody around them who have like 1 or 2 acres. Why can't the person with 10 acres rezone it and make it similar to everybody in the neighborhood? So that was brought up. Turn off lane to Twin Lakes, I mentioned that before. Zoning change in Twin Lakes, mixed use zoning, more housing, safe bus stops. We have a bus stop in Twin Lakes. I don't know if anybody knows that. A little scary when you think about that. Where the sign is. I think he stops inside of Twin Lakes somewhere. And what is that? Modal transportation options, safe transportation. That was us.
Great, thank
Yay.
you. Thank you.
I want to wipe that.
We're going to tag team this. Because I was voluntold, Willie. So, yeah, yes. So basically, it sounds like we're in consensus of keeping Main Street small town feel with small businesses rather than big box businesses or inconsistent look in downtown Lower Lake, and preserving unopened, undeveloped land with a healthy ecosystem. We kind of, it sounds like everybody's pretty much close to the same things as we go through with our challenges. We had a lot of those. So we have some highlighted for you. The agriculture runoff from, and we talked about the differences between commercial agriculture and the illegal grows. And then vegetation abandonment and, abatement and field management. So same with all the fire safety, the Twin Lakes, Noble Ranch, Bonham area, and then the Lower Lake Water Board under-resourced.
And providing resources for the fire abatement. We have a lot of, I don't want to say low income, but we have a lot of senior residents who can't afford services, and although they still need that assistance. Design a review board for Main Street that oversees permitting and designing of new whatever it is here in Lower Lake, so that we're consistent down the whole way and not modge-podge. Increase code and law enforcement. Better pay would help. Bring roads and drainage and infrastructure up to date. School traffic creates potholes, and poor drainage creates worse and worsens potholes. Major thoroughfares are very dangerous. We have several of them, especially with the amount of commuter traffic that is 29, 53. We said Twin Lakes, Murphy Springs, Hoffacker, all those along that way where people are turning off the highway without proper turn lanes. Then we have promote out our wineries, local sports, and Lower Lake in general, the festivals on Main Street, and just really promoting, what we have to offer here in Lower Lake. Marketing of available jobs should be better because there's a lot of people, we have a lot of job openings and we have a lot of local resources. So trying to connect those, but also looking for, we said rentals for our local workers because we're getting a lot of low income housing, which is great, but it doesn't help our middle class or entry level workers. We have new fire, we have new teachers, educators, and the hardest thing is finding a place for them to live once they get here. We said that no cannabis consumption bars in downtown or near the schools. No cannabis anything near those areas. We understand and we agree there is a need for it, but we need to determine a location more suited than downtown or near the schools. We want to keep the small scale like some of the towns around the lake, but we want to replace the word commercial with retail. We don't want commercial, we want more retail.
And then the boundaries, we also discussed the boundaries, kind of like Teresa said over there, with being in the same as the Lower Lake Fire or Lake County Fire Protection District. So the boundaries didn't reflect what it is currently being served by them. So we talked about that boundary change the same as in Lower Lake to fill that whole spot. And then that would be like going all the way to Westwind Mobile Home and then the Canocti Vista Road in the Rivieras there.
Yep.
Next page. Yeah.
Like this extra area here that's in Rivieras.
Yeah.
Conforms to the fire
Right there at the on the lakeside there. Mm-hmm.
And you need to check Siegler Springs because that is has always been considered Cobb or a part of Cobb, so maybe take a closer look at that. It may be in our fire district, but because they generally are serviced, in the Cobb area, so you might take a look at where exactly.
It's kind of awkward because
It is.
Siegler Canyon that's ours,
Right.
is part of Perini Road that is ours, part of Cobb. So, from the intersection of Big Canyon, Loch Lomond Road, and Siegler Canyon, it's a couple milepost markers down, and I don't need that. I can yell. Oh, fine, Thomas, I got your number. Yes, so that area, Siegler Canyon, where it comes to the intersection with Big Canyon, Loch Lomond Road, it's only a couple of milepost markers down that ends the Lake County Fire District and picks up South Lake County. But then that says the same. We have a lot of Perini Road that is within our Fire Protection District, all the way out to Murphy Springs down to Highway 29 again.
Thank you. So we have one more group. I know we're almost out of time here, so I'm going to ask if you can just highlight the things, especially anything that hasn't been covered, and try to just keep it a little brief so we can make sure we let everyone out on time. So thank you.
Okay. For the first question, we had a lot of the same things. We did also say that we wanted to preserve the climate, and we did not want high density residential, and add another park or two down kind of the Morgan Valley way. As far as the next question, it was all the same. Better evacuation routes, though, and better internet. The last question was no real changes to the existing land use, but I really like what everybody else said, that it needs to match up. And the last piece of it was enforce the littering violators with more signages and other ways to enforce because of the debris and the dumping. That's it.
Well done. Thank you. We gathered a lot of really, really good data tonight, and I appreciate how everybody just jumped right in and participated in all of our breakout groups. I wanted to thank everyone again for coming, sharing your evening with us, helping us gather input for the vision. I missed someone who definitely deserves appreciation. Tom DeWalt out there in the back, who did our internet.
Yay.
Thank you. I want to encourage everyone, if you have not completed a survey, please do so. And you're more than welcome to take one of those awesome license plate holders and help us advertise our ongoing project. Additionally, you are always welcome to participate in the community workshops, but if you want to up your game a little bit and join our local area plan advisory councils, please complete an application. You can leave it with me, or you can complete it online. We're working on getting it at the LakeCounty2050.org website, but we don't quite have it live yet. But you can also find an online application on the Board of Supervisors page at lakecountyca.gov. That's the Lake County website. So thanks again to everybody. We are going to make sure that all of these papers are collected. We don't want to lose a single detail. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Table at this event. We are also looking for those people that want to volunteer, and we're going to have plenty of opportunities for you to share or shop for those volunteer opportunities. Please see me and I'll give you a flyer and I can tell you more about it. April 30th, Kelseyville Presbyterian Church.
Again, thank you all for coming tonight. Ours was the largest gathering so far. Really proud of Lower Lake and our community and the interest we're taking in our future. So please, if you are interested, as Reyes says, in joining this committee, there is an application there on the way out. So again, thank you so much for coming.